Mr. Brock for 6 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the witnesses for your attendance today. With time permitting, I will circle back to the focus of this meeting, that being social media and foreign interference. But there's another pressing issue that Canadians want answers to. And Deputy Commissioner Larkin, all my questions will be directed towards you. You'll agree that there are basic legal tenets under criminal law, namely that ignorance of the law is no excuse, that every Canadian is certainly not above the law. That includes all members of Parliament and the Prime Minister himself. Would you agree with that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's the foundation of democracy and the democratic institutions that we provide support to and enforce the Criminal Code of Canada and other jurisdictional laws such as provincial and or municipal.
Thank you. And notwithstanding that no sitting Prime Minister has ever been criminally charged with an offence under the Criminal Code of Canada and or convicted of a criminal offence, if your service, if the RCMP service had reasonable and probable grounds to believe that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had committed a criminal offence, the service would charge accordingly.
Chair,
isn't that correct?
Point of order, please.
Okay, we've got a point of order. Go ahead.
Well, I understand we have guests today to discuss a topic that we have in front of us, and I think that we should go on topic and not go out of topic. So I would appreciate, Mr. Chair, if we can go on the topic of the study that we have right now.
Mr. Brock is an experienced litigator. He did say at the onset that he's going to get to where he needs to go, so I want to give him some latitude. Generally, as you know, I give each member their time to discuss generally what they want. And if it brings us to a point where we end up, which I expect that's where Mr. Brock is going with this, then he's got the floor. He can ask whatever questions he wants. Mr. Brock, I did stop your time. I didn't stop it right away, but I'll give you a 10-second head start, and then I'll restart your time.
Chair, can I challenge on this? We are talking about relevance of the topic, and I believe
the issue with relevance, Madam Fortier, is it's somewhat subjective. You know,
it's
Mr.
subjective
Brock,
when we're in a committee talking about social media study, and we're talking about the Prime Minister at this time. So I think that maybe we should come back to the relevance of this topic that we have in front of us as a study.
Mr. Brock, you have the floor. I expect that you're going to get to a point where you need to go.
Relevancy will be established if I'm not interrupted by Liberal members.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So, Deputy Commissioner Larkin, if I can have a response to that question. If the service had reasonable and probable grounds to believe that Justin Trudeau had committed a criminal offence, the service would charge accordingly. Isn't that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, appreciate the question. Very hypothetical in nature. Obviously, we investigate. Our mandate is to investigate criminal investigations, regardless of who the target is. We have a sensitive and international investigations section that has a mandate to investigate sensitive, high-risk matters that cause significant threats to Canada's political, economic, social integrity. And so, again, you know, that is left to the frontline investigators in consultation with prosecutors, et cetera, determine that. But again, it would be hypothetical to speak to a certain scenario.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you. The mandate for every single police officer, whether it's
Again,
frontline...
Chair, I'd like to point of order, please.
Okay, what's your point of order again?
The same as I mentioned
And as I
earlier,
said-
the relevance
as I
of
said,
this is unfortunately under the topic, Chair, and I challenge the fact that we should be really focusing on this study today, which is not, unfortunately, what is not MP Brock doing. So the relevance should be stated, and we should go back to the topic that we have in front of us.
Okay, I'm gonna give him more time to establish where he's going with this. I appreciate on the issue of relevance, as I said earlier, it's subjective. Mr. Brock has indicated that he's going to go to social media, and I expect that that's going to happen. Go ahead, Mr. Brock.
So I'm going to circle back with respect to Deputy Commissioner Larkin. It's a hypothetical, but I think it's a question that's easily answerable. because every single police unit in this country, you'd agree with me, has a singular threshold, a singular legal threshold to lay a charge as simple as mischief or shoplifting all the way to homicide. And that is, does the service have reasonable and probable grounds to believe an offense has been committed? You'd agree with me, sir, that is the legal threshold for policing in this country.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would be the threshold of any criminal investigation, is to follow the evidence to ensure that we do comprehensive investigations and actually interview and look at the entirety of it, and that's the threshold to ensure that it meets the facts and issue of the offense we're investigating.
Thank you. And I appreciate that your service has a sensitivity or a sensitive unit, and certainly potentially criminally investigating the Prime Minister for
Again,
potentially
Chair,
obstruction of justice.
I will ask for a point of order on relevance.
Okay, go ahead.
And again, Chair, he said it at the beginning. MP Brock said that he would be not in line with questioning on this study. So I would just like to bring it back to this study that we have at this time. It would be very appreciated that we can focus on, as you know, we've been trying to focus on this study for a long time. We have great guests here that can answer many questions. At another time, if the MP wants to discuss another study, but today is off relevance at this time.
Thank you, Madam Fortier. On that
Can I
point,
respond?
on that point of order,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So if Ms. Fortier and any member of the Liberal bench wish to continue to point of order my questions before the question is even put to the witness, then we are defeating the purpose by which we are here. Now, I hear from Ms. Fortier that she wants to deal with questions surrounding social media and foreign interference. And if she continues to interrupt me, and she and her colleagues continue to interrupt me, then there's going to be very little time for them to have the opportunity to deal with what they believe to be relevant questions. And I agree with you, Chair. Relevancy is a very subjective art. And I stated at the outset, with time permitting, I will be circling back to the content matter of this meeting.
Okay.
But I object to this constant interference by these Liberal, and they're laughing. Yeah, you laugh all you want, Carolyn Bennett, because it's not funny to Canadians, sir.
Mr. Brock, I'm going to ask that you continue. You said you were going to deal with the subject matter at hand. I'm going to ask in the 2 minutes that you have left, 2 minutes and 10 seconds that you have left, that you go in that direction. Thank you, sir.
So, Officer Larkin, or sorry, my apologies, Deputy Commissioner Larkin. I think what we were getting at before I was interrupted now a third time is this whole concept about a legal threshold. And notwithstanding that no Prime Minister has ever been charged criminally, but in relation to the RCMP investigation, which is no secret to the Liberal bench.
Point of order again,
no secret.
Mr. Chair. Point of order on relevance. You were pretty clear that we were going to be talking about the current study, and I haven't really seen in the introduction that we are going there. Therefore, before our guests have to answer questions, I think it would be great for having the relevance of this study again.
Well, I appreciate that.
Today.
I appreciate that, Madam Fortier. And as I said at the onset, I generally give a lot of latitude in terms of lines of questioning, hoping that we end up at a point where we're dealing with the study. I expect that that's where Mr. Brock is going. I've got Mr. Barrett on that point of order, and then followed by you, Mr. Green. So go ahead, Mr. Barrett, on the point of order.
Mr. Chair, I would expect that had we not had 4 interruptions in less than 4 minutes to Mr. Brock, or 4 minutes of running time, his clock has had to be stopped several times, that we'd have the opportunity to get to where he wants to go. But he's at a disadvantage when each time the time is stopped, he restates the same question. So if he's just given the opportunity to ask his question, then without having to repeat it, then perhaps the fullness of what he's looking to get to would be heard by the committee, but he's not being given that opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Green, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, you know I have a lot of respect for you. I think you're doing a good job in the seat there. I'm going to just share with you what my concern is with what's happening right now. My concern is that as somebody who will often use procedure, and I know my good friend Mr. Brock will have an appreciation of this. We spent a lot of time together on Dead Sea. My concern is that when filibusters arise, and they do, you will often know that I'll reflect on the ruling of relevance. And if what we're doing now is setting a precedent that allows for any and all topics at any and all times to be debated, that's going to affect my future interventions when it comes to filibusters on relevance. So, you know, I know Mr. Brock has a deep respect and consideration for procedural rules, and I would ask that we you know, get back to the study at hand, so that in future debates, when I call a point of relevance, that you won't reflect back on today and say, you know, anything and everything is fair game.
Yeah, I've generally tried to give a lot of latitude, as you know, Mr. Green, in lines of questioning, regardless of the subject matter. I happen to fundamentally believe that a member's 6 minutes is their 6 minutes. If they want to talk about rainbows and unicorns, they can do that. Mr. Brock, I'm asking you to come back to the subject matter at hand, if you can, sir, and you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair.
For a minute and 40 seconds.
So again, Deputy Commissioner Larkin, hopefully I can get this question out. Now, social media, my social media, is absolutely abuzz with concerns in regards to this particular area. And I can mention social media 1,000 times to satisfy my Liberal colleagues, but social media is such that Canadians want to know, is the RCMP impervious to the thought that the Prime Minister is incapable of being charged with a criminal offence? Now, I know that this is a sensitive matter, but I asked you for a pointed response, and I'm not getting a pointed response. If the RCMP had reasonable and probable grounds to believe that our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, had been involved in a criminal offence, which is your legal threshold, reasonable and probable grounds, that you consulted with the appropriate legal authorities, you consulted with the Department of Justice, you consulted with provincial and territorial Crown attorneys. If they gave you the green light that the facts and the evidence was there, that your legal threshold was met, can you advise Canadians that in that hypothetical you could charge the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, with a criminal offence? Yes or no, sir?
In 20 seconds,
Point of order
Deputy
on relevance
Commissioner.
again.
Just,
Point
I
of order on
appreciate that. As I
relevance
said, it was
again,
relevance
Chair.
is subjective. But Mr. Larkin, you've got 20 seconds to answer that question if you want. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Brock, again, hypothetical scenario, but regardless of who the suspect is, we follow the legal threshold. We're true to our oath, and we would actually follow the evidence of any criminal investigation, and that's our mandate. So thank you.